And good day there, kiddies. This is your griot, cowboy welder Bob saying howdy and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Griot Sensei Al Bob. But the name that's on the bottom of the door is, the channel is, and stay tuned for the channel. The channel is Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Owl Bob. That's the channel. And I am your Sensei Owl Bob, bringing forth a shamanic message of the griot. So here we are in strange times, same as it ever been, right? And first and foremost, you have to realize that this show is strictly for entertainment's sake, right? It is hooray for Hollywood, that hazy, crazy, crazy Hollywood. Anyway, you know why they call it Hollywood? And that sign just appeared like magic, is that every magic wand through all of the occult and esoteric is made out of holly wood, the wood from a holly tree. Did you know that? So here we are in a live chat. I've just come back, if you go to my xratted.blogspot.com and read my cuts, those are all just little slivers, as the name conveys, cut of a novel, right? So I got about 26 novels, maybe, 12 in the shape that those cuts are, it's semi-readable. But my stuff, I have two speeds. I have thick and quick. And my thick stuff, as the name tells you, that thick takes a long time to get through it. But the taste at the end of the line is pretty good. Normally you have to read the thick stuff maybe 6 times, 5 times if you're a quick study. And the key to reading anything I do is suspend your disbelief. Right? Hey, what does that mean? It means you do not judge anything. Just read it. How does it strike you? If it strikes you here and you go, bing, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Well, that's when you are starting to act like a griot, and perceive like an adept, heading for your ascension of your conscious free will. You're coming awake, right? That's what it's happening, right? You're noticing stuff. And remember, breathe in 20%. And more. And what does that do? It occupies the squirrel who's got the laundry list in its crazy little hand, riding around in the iron Rolodex of your mind, because that's all your freaking mind is. It's a Rolodex of almost useless facts. Your true central processing unit is your heart right here. Ground control to your heart. And when you thinking that 20% more, you can't do that without your conscious mind totally being focused on your breath. And then you breathe out 30% more, because your breath, you eliminate more waste through your breath. Pinch a loaf, maybe you've cut 60 grams, water the grass, maybe, 0.5 liters, right? Unless you're really, hydrating. And your sweat, not much. But your breath, you expel close to 80,000 cubic feet every freaking day. So if you're really conscious about your breath, you can really become awake. And when you're awake, you don't fall down that manhole. You don't do that stupid thing over there or there. And if you do, you will go, I won't do that again. You will learn. No mistake is irrelevant or bad or you should be ashamed of if you learn from it. I'm a moron. How did I get so smart? I'm a moron, but I'm a moron who realizes when he stepped down, the manhole cover was missing and I stepped in that hole and woo, I never did that again. And that's a good thing. Anyway, so is anybody out there? Tommy, can you hear me? These are my Stevie Wonder glasses. Yep. And what am I? I am an African American that's melanin challenged. Right. Okay, go say something. Well, that works. So, okay, anybody can live chat. That was just a test. The ZX test, XZ. We control the horizontal. Woo! That's the Z, or sometimes known as the Y. We vertical. Wee! One signal. The other is magnitude, amplification, velocity. How it's burning through those brain cells of yours. Anyway, and that's what life's about. Learning stuff. Okay, here we are, 6 minutes and 57 minutes. So, what did I want to talk about today? That was my intro, right? A disclaimer of, hey, this is just for laughs and giggles. Don't worry that, if you have any kind of sensibility of prejudice, I'm not prejudiced. No, prejudice, what does prejudice mean? It means you get offended when your opinion is made to look like foolish nonsense. Like what they call conspiracy theories, But everything is this way, right? So when we were told no child left behind, that meant they were leaving every child behind, When they were calling it's going to be a great society. We're getting rid of Jim Crow and everybody that just like, Dr. King says, little babies, black and white, holding, But they didn't talk about Dr. King Martin's realization after he gets back with his Nobel Prize. And they get the Voting Act and this act, and nothing changed except the black folk were getting poorer because by being segregated, they were allowed to specialize. Meaning the black community in 1957 was the 7th largest economy on the frickin' world. That's why the black, the blue dog or the red dog, whatever dog Democrats said, LBJ went, listen, boys, you don't ride the bus. You don't eat at the counter. We're just going to let everybody go there. And, everybody, it's not so much a color. Some of my best friends are black. It's the bling, right? So, and he's right. It's all about the money, And that's whenever you're looking at anything going down, you got to say, where is the money going? Like, the day before fracking 9/11, good old Mr. Rummy goes in front of the meeting and says, yeah, well, we've been here now almost a year and we've done nothing, but I have to announce that somehow, in these last, 10 months, we've misplaced $2.7 trillion. And everyone was like, and then the next day is 9/11. And that was forgotten, except the people who found that little indiscrepancy, which it wasn't supposed to be found, were the people who were in Ring D, that area that had been, what do they call it? Spruced up, more, rehabbed, right? So nobody was in there, and they said, and this was the group that had boxes and boxes of floppy disks and all the notes of where the money kind of drifted off to, what contractor, blah, 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 what black project. And that just happens to be where that airliner driven by guys who were Saudi Arabian went right into their window. And all of that evidence and all those people, like about, I don't know, maybe 120 or something, all the evidence of that, what happened, gone. Those were the bean counters, gone. And those bean counters were the guys who would have counted the beans saying, we really shouldn't go into Afghanistan or Iraq. It's going to cost a lot of money. And we just finally got our books balanced. We can build up. We can start fixing highways and really giving kids education and maybe everyone health care. Who would have thought? Bang, 9/11. And all that money that had been kind of put in the piggy bank, like Al Gore, we had to put it in the lockbox. Well, they didn't. They basically turned that cash into a credit card and put all of the wars for 6 years on a credit card. And we are paying the interest right now. By 2025, the largest single expenditure on the U.S. budget is going to be the paying of the interest of our debt. And the fact that we have had the most massive tax cut like that. Why did we do really good in the 50s and 60s up until 77? Because the uber rich was taxed 90%, and still they had $300 billion that they were showing. They paid 90% of tax on all that, which shows how much money they don't have invested. Their cash is held in usury vehicles, right? Hey, Eden, what's shaking, baby? Let's see. Where are my glasses? No, I'm wearing them. Other glasses? No. I just had my eyes kind of worked on. Yeah, hunter-gatherers by nature. Well, actually we're like a pack of wolves, really. But really more like sharks. We're like genetically modified sharks eating everything in our bioscene, right? But in reality, anything you think or anything you feel is this is my worldview, and it's not really. There is, every time, Donnie goes, it's fake news, he's right. It's been fake news all the way back to Mesopotamia. It's like, when our little bag of water was zip tied together by the Anunnaki to be slaves, that's when the story started to go off kilter. We don't have a clue, and pretty much every screwed up thing going on is a reference point to the fact we don't have a clue. But the folk who started the contract with the Anunnaki are still around. We just, they are so above, like, what is this? This is how, hi, buddies. Hey, guys, how you doing? This is a pyramid, right? It is our social, business, religious structure. Everybody, there's maybe somewhere around 7-point-something billion people on Earth, right? Well, at that very base, really, this much of that pyramid is what are known as the expendables, us, meaning everyone from, sewer slime up to bank president, lawyer, judge, doctor, and all those guys are not that far from sewer slime. But in that little category, that's all of us. We are the expendables. So when you see people who think they're rich, like, lawyers, doctors, judges, they're not rich. They're the upper echelon of the expendable class. Then there's the worker drones, right? Worker drones. And who are those guys? Those are the guys who have some gifts, some talents, some abilities, and they're the guys who became the J.P. Morgans, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. I mean, they had something on the ball. They had a vision, and that hidden hand could just say, okay, here's some cash, do this, do it however you want to do it. And that's, the Reich, who was the first Reich of the Roman Empire? They'd gone from a republic that they were trying to copy like the Greeks had, but they fell into the same oops of overexpanding. And that's kind of where we are right now. The United States has over 900 foreign military bases, bombers, ships, all over the place, right? Russia has 2. China has, nobody else has any, a lot of our buddies can share those things with us, and that's why we have so many. Russia spent, I don't know, I think $60 billion on their defense budget. In I think 18, whatever fiscal year that began and started with. And we spent 700 billion. 60, 700. Just look at the F-35, the biggest boondoggle known to man. I don't know, all of this stuff that I'm saying, don't believe anything I'm saying. It's, not even, how do you spell conspiracy? With a C or a K? And then period. So it's either CT or KT. This is farther than, you can get from can't get there from here. You know what I mean? The mountains are over here. And this. Anyway, so my real motivation for today's show is I went up into the hills above Blacksburg, where they're putting in the gas pipeline that's running from upstate New York through Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and down through us to the coast, right? And that's taken specifically mostly all fracked oil and gas. Now, fracked oil and gas is needs some special. It doesn't need its own pipeline, and there's a ton of what they call capacity in all the pipelines in Virginia. It's a ton of them. They put it since, Pennsylvania is the first place for oil. It came down the hill through Virginia, and that they had, Mr. Rockefeller wanted to, totally own oil by owning its transportation, right? So anyway, I could go into all those innuendos, but I won't. Just to say that a friend of mine said, hey, you've been studying this pipeline thing, blah, 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 and you've been talking to people, blah, 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 for 20 years, right? And over these 20 years, everybody had their own little agenda, and you didn't. You just kind of was saying, hey, take a look at this, take a look at that, look what's going down. And no one seemed to listen to you. They'd come to you when they wanted you to do something for them, and you would. And why I support you is you're like the egoless ego, right? So these guys need you. The kids who are up there on the line, putting themselves in front of the bulldozers, up in trees, you name it, right? And the oil company owns the media, so nobody's even looking at these guys unless one of them falls out of the tree and dies, and then they blame them. These eco. We don't want to use the T word anyway. So I went up there, I've been watching it from afar, as I do pretty much all of my trend analysis. I watch from afar, unless I can do one of those 3 rules. And what are the 3 rules? What are the 3 rules, right? Doctor, do no harm. And what is a doctor but that an individual who's responsible enough to step in and to heal? If you can't heal it, they don't get involved. They don't want to say, oh, I'm a doctor. Sorry, he died. No. If you can see that you can do a positive outcome, that's doctor, do no harm, number 1. Number 2, do not get involved unless you can navigate a positive exit strategy for everybody involved, all our relations. No one dies. Everyone, it's a win-win for everyone, And that's number 2. And you have to you don't get involved. The only time you really get involved, you could do that and that's fine. But number 2, you don't get involved unless you have to intercede yourself. That's where you're getting involved to save and protect the innocents, get them out of harm's way. That's number 2, pretty much. The other thing is just, a byproduct of getting the innocents out of harm's way. Number 2. Number 3. What is number 3? Anyone got number 3? Anyway, I can't see anyway. As Ronnie used to say, trust but verify. Everything that goes down, it's your movie, so you're kind of in charge. You can navigate the worst big tsunami. There's still that little place back here where, And that's what being awake is. And again, the three rules, right? The first rule, doctor, do no harm. Number two, get the innocents out of harm's way. Number three, ding, 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 ding. Do not get involved unless you can create an environment where people will learn something and change, right? I mean, if you do the same thing over and over again, oh, I feel miserable. I'm going to hit myself in the head and die with a hammer. Bang. And then you'll kind of wake up. Oh, I got a really bad headache. You got this lump, but you're not dead. You're just a little more stupid. And now you got quadruple vision and you don't feel that good, right? But then you go, oh, I hate it. Oh, people are attacking me. Oh, life is so bad. Why is it me? Oh, I want to kill myself. Bang. Right? And you keep doing that. You don't die. You just kind of feel worse and worse and worse. And you don't change anything. You don't learn from anything. So number three is you better learn from whatever you're getting involved in or else, So I've been studying the pipeline thing, and I don't get involved unless I can kind of transmute using the old energy of not only shamanism, because shamanism is the foundation where you're bringing in the prana of Father Sky through your breath, that extra 20%. When you do that, it'll open more, and so the prana can get in rather than just kind of bouncing around. And then you expel all the negativity, more prana, and now that goes into your blood. And so your blood going blah, 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 it swirls through the veins clockwise, and then there's a swirl inside that swirl going counterclockwise, and inside of that swirl there's another swirl that's kind of going angularly, thus creating a polyphase scalar current, real current, not potential, current, right? And that's why you got so much juice. That's why your muscles are right. Otherwise, you're just a bag of water sloshing around. So the animation, or what brings life, connection, is the prana from the sky through your breath. And why oxygen? When you get old and they give you oxygen, that kind of gives you a puff second by second. But actually what that oxygen is doing, let's say you have a candle and you take the hose of oxygen, and, right? Well, when you're taking in oxygen, yes, it's keeping you alive. It's causing that mitochondria to go, wee, but it's burning you up. And so your oldest sin, you only got so much coal in the bin to begin with, so to burn it up on oxygen, not a good idea. But anyway, it's good for all of these things. Modern medicine came out of warfare, basically. And that technology, all of it, from Mesopotamian war till today, was designed on the battlefield to deal, because they got a lot of money invested in that soldier. They want him to get him back. And it's really good for morale if you just don't leave the half-dead folk on the battlefield. And if you can bring them back, body, mind, and soul, and this is what it should be, Doctor, do no harm. That would be what you do. That would be an amazing value, even if they're blown up in wheelchairs. If they could go communicate to their community what happened to them and around them. And that was what that movie Forrest Gump was about. Forrest had this ability to stumble into those transcendental moments and affect people. Bubba, Lieutenant Dan, his mother, what's his little girlfriend from childhood, always protecting her. And being the most Forrest Gump is the most respectful gentleman. He's sitting at the thing, you want a piece of chocolate? Yeah, Mama says, right? So he makes everybody feel comfortable. And so we're at this window of opportunity. So I went up to my friend, said, you got to come up. So, sure. What am I doing? I just had my eyes up. I got nothing to do. I'm wearing my welder's goggles, and pretending I'm Stevie Wonder. When Stevie did that, he was echolocating. But anyway, so we went up in her car. We drove. And as soon as we pulled, we came across 460, went over the railroad tracks, and all the pipeline guys, their trucks, the bulldozers, it's like a military thing. They have like their area of operations ready to go up into the mountains and start doing stuff, right? So I went by and I, went to state as soon as we came over the railroad tracks. And I was feeling everybody. So we're about 20 people, guys in hard hats and people with clipboards, and they were doing stuff. And I just kind of felt all of their auras and their energetics, right? Their shamanistic footprint, right? And what I got from every one of them was they really didn't want to be there. They knew that they weren't doing something good, but they couldn't give up that $56 an hour. And that was the lowest man in the totem pole. That girl who was like the field engineer with she's getting like almost $300 a day, straight out, she's going to be able to pay off her college debt in 4 years rather than, but she's also, bought a new car, a new house because she's making all this money. And, you think that stuff's going to last forever. Well, she'll probably lose her job in a year because this pipeline is more or less a distraction gang. But if you, again, learn from this and realize why are they doing it, what's going on, and where can I be used best, right, to make a difference? Again, what do I always ask of the cadre is to be that little adept pebble in the pond, and those little. So we went there, I had my cup of coffee. Joe, one of the reasons I went, my friend makes coffee like the best coffee in the universe, So she'd say, hey, I'll make you a cup of coffee. It's like, okay, I'm there. Come and get me. So, and I tell you all that, come and get me. We road trip. So we go over the railroad tracks. I'm dowsing basically everybody there. And everybody was like bummed out. And so we drove past them, and we were on a county road, so if they can't go up here. So we went up because there are houses all up there, and we went onto a piece of private property because this pipeline's going right across this guy's everything. I mean, like they're taking up like from one. He's got maybe 200 acres, and they're cutting right across it. So anything he thought he was going to do with that property, he's got a gigantic scar. Now he could, I haven't really sat down and talked to him, but from just my energetics of his house and what's going on there, he's not like a tree. He's probably in his 70s, has some money, and this was his retirement thing, and he was going to do X with it. And then these guys went, and he thought I'm pretty well to do. I could afford a lawyer. But when he realized forget it, they just ignored him. I mean, he didn't exist. He wasn't part of the club, and he thought he was. Oops, because he's in the expendable group. That's where he was. Thought he had some money. He's not expendable. He's not like, smoking crack, but he's in that same category as the guy in the trailer down the road doing meth. So, again, window of opportunity. Bing, 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 bing. Welcome to the Slaughterhouse Supermarket. And this is a commercial, another 17 months, a window of opportunity. And we have this choice of whether we're going to have a dystopian 1984 / Hunger Games or, a utopian kind of materialism of a Star Trek. You want to live in Gene Roddenberry's world or Henry Kissinger's. You got your choice, or H.G. Wells, however you look at that, or Mr. Lucifer himself, Aleister Crowley. I mean, all this stuff is connected. It's not hard to find. Go read go to my playlist. There's a ton of stuff up there that you could read, especially David Icke, any of the UFO kids or the economists. There are 5 or 6 economists. This French guy who wrote a book called Capital that's brilliant. Says it just like it is. There are some TED Talks that are truly amazing. This is one of this. He's Greek. The Greek guy who was head of the Greek. He was the economy minister of Greece when the 2008 collapse, and basically Greece was put on the shish kebab, right? And he was, Nobel Prize, really brilliant, blah, blah, blah. That's what he was there. And he's trying to speak to all these economist guys that he's been part of, there's the IMF, the World Bank, blah, blah, blah. And he was part of that thing. And he was showing that, hey, what you're going to do to Greece is going to destroy the EU. So he thought, because he knew these guys, that they were, they're all economists. They know how to put the line and add it all up. But he didn't realize that these guys were serving somebody else, Baal. If you go look up the word Baal in Sumerian, it's basically Lucifer, right? And so And he was, part of, there were these two water bearers who brought life to us, and the Anunnaki. And then there were these two brothers, Icky and Scratchy, I think. And they constantly play bocce ball with the human consciousness soul, And that's why we're in this sandbox here. So anyway, I go up, over the railroad tracks, past the people wearing hard hats, and they're not happy campers. And we go up and go onto this private guy's land. We park our car, and he's got another road going up through his property and over to where they're making a gigantic gash through the landscape. And they're breaking every rule of the book. It's unbelievable, right? But because all of the entities that we're supposed to, what's the right word? It's not, to oversee, right? The EPA, the Mines Bureau, the this bureau, FARC, a whole bunch of things. Well, it's not like they changed the law. It's not like they cut the budget. What the Pence Trump administration did was it just didn't hire anybody to administer them. So EPA, Energy, HHR, HHS, all of the alphabets are falling apart. The United States bureaucratic structure that, these morons who think their hero Q is breaking up the, deep state, and not so much, or the swamp, and not so much. I mean, look who Donnie put in. Everybody on this cabinet is like straight from Wall Street. And the guys who are running the Treasury Department, fermented 08 and got, he got billions of dollars from the taxpayer, but 30 million people lost their house, their job, their wife, their kids. And so that's what this pipeline kind of represents, all of that, And Puerto Rico, the poor people, it's a beautiful place. Everyone should go to Puerto Rico and support our brothers and sisters down there. Stay in somebody's house, home, give them a lot of money, and go help them fix their house, blah, blah, blah. And have a good time. It's the most unbelievable. It's got beaches like you can't believe. And so the guy who was put in there, Republican, who was supposed to help with the catastrophe, is just a scumbag like every other politician. Oops, shouldn't you realize? See, that's the beauty of Donnie Trump, that he's no worse than any of them. When he screams, no collusion, he's right. He did it in, not behind a locked door. He did it. It goes on for the TV cameras. I really love Russia, and Putin, you're my best friend. So why don't you have your guys go look at locker ups, emails? He says it live on friggin' TV. I can grab blah, 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 and nothing's going to, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't even get It's not like him. It's anybody who represents that top of the pyramid. And Donnie, Donnie is in the upper echelons of the expendables. He's not even in the worker drone scene. He's in the expendables, So there's expendables, which is most of us, the worker drones, people with specialities that are special. Then there's the managers, and the managers are the guys like, J.P. Morgan, Mr. Rockefeller. They were just manager jobs. They were not top of the heap, right? When J.P. Morgan died and he opened up his books through his will, became public, he only owned 7% of J.P. Morgan Bank that his name was on. The rest of the 93% was owned by the entities of the Rothschilds, of the Red and Blue Shield. That's why we have, anyway. So I'm up there, we park and then we kind of go up this road, and it's less than a football field, but I got real compromised legs, and so I've got my canes and I'm hobbling. I should have known better and put my braces on. Next time I go, I will know better. But I brought my own little foldy chair and an umbrella, and so I was all good to go. So I went up there, And I got, we went through their, with the guy with the walkie-talkie, you know, and from that point we went up because it's on private property, right? So the cops and those guys, the guy whose property, he's so pissed off about them raping his thing, he's in support of the kids who are hanging out on the trees, and the trees are on his property. Yes, it is in the right of way, but it's on his, which he said, hey, they can do whatever they want up there. So they did whatever they, before the guys showed up with the bulldozer. I mean, they were still coming over the hill, about a year or so ago. So anyway, so I kind of hobble up there and I get to this place where, there's like, it's like, it looks something out of Game of Thrones. There's the castle and the big wall and, the gas pipe guys are right. And so they're right on their doorstep, meaning, so there's this like, it's kind of, this is kind of like the mountains where I am, Sawtooth. They're not the lumpy ones that are around here. So they have equipment going up the Sawtooth Mountains, and I mean, going against every rule of the fracking book. So these kids don't have to do anything bad to slow down the oil guys. They're so incompetent and terrible that, they wanted to be done last year. Well, they got 2 more years of doing this stupid crap that they're doing. And they're doing it so bad that at some point, someone who's the grown-up in the room will say, well, okay, that's okay. We can't, okay, next, So, again, the choice between the Hunger Games world or the Star Trek world. It's your choice. We got that window of opportunity. So anyway, I've said to my friend, you're right. You give me the cup of coffee, you get me there, I'm going to go. So I did. So I, read everything, talked to people. Some people thought, oh, who is this crazy guy? Other people said, boy, this guy's kind of interesting. And he's a spy, It's like, I'm just kind of like this. And conversely, the other pipeline guys, I talked to them like human beings, and they were like, you're not with those guys, right? We like you. You're a nice guy. You're smart. You make some sense, I read their palms, all the guys running me. I said, how can you? I said, well, they're paying me $300 an hour to do that. And I said, that's your life. I said, you've been going up. I know the range you're going through. You must have already lost 6 or 7 machines. And he goes, no, about 12. And that's why we're getting $300, And they got safety lines they can jump off, and but good luck with that. Anyway, so they were doing that, and I was talking to them, and they said, it's just like the Wild West, right? Because, again, the people who are supposed to be watching out for this, not that they changed the law or that they defunded it, it says there's nobody home. And that's why things are fucking up as bad. And see, you can never get over. That's why I don't lie, cheat, or steal, because it's too much trouble, right? Donnie thought he could act like a gangster and just do it in public, and this 38% would save him. Well, after this little, TV episode, soap opera from the Congress, by Mr. Mueller, again, I mean, I read those 400 pages. I went to the library, looked at the book, and what I realized, because, I took the Evelyn Wood speed reading course, there's only about 80 pages of that 400 pages that are like the meat of the matter. The rest is like the things from, the interviews, which is good, to know what that moron said. That's how they caught them all lying. That's fine. But you don't need, there's about 80 pages of the meat of the matter of everything that's at the issue and what the real issue isn't. Donnie, because he hung out, his lawyer was this guy, what was his name? He's a real scumbag. Total. He's a guy who got Joe McCarthy to blackball those people. Cohen. What's his name? But anyway, he was evil. If you ever see the movie Boys in the Band, about the guy, beginning of AIDS in New York, right? And I forget who plays this guy, but he was a total xenophobe on everything, homosexuals, da-da-da-da. But he was everything he railed against. He was gay. He died of AIDS. I don't have AIDS, I have cancer. But, everyone saw him at Studio 54 in the basement, having a good time with his sailor hat on. I mean, that's where YMCA. That's where that song came from. Studio 54 in the latter days of Rome there. And so, and Donald Trump was a real, this lawyer guy. What is his name? It'll pop into my mind. But that guy was Donnie's. It was his father's lawyer. And then when his father died, but he said, take care of Donnie, show him the ropes. And so that guy used Donnie as a voodoo doll. And that's why Donnie is the way he is. He might have been, a stable genius when he was like 6. Did you ever read? There's a great book. I'm really going full go on the stream of consciousness here, gang, if you haven't noticed already. But there's a really interesting book called Trump, Baron Trump's Adventure Through Time, written in 1908. Then a year later, there's another one called King, Baron, or Baron the King, or something like that. And it's like what's going on today from a time traveler point of view. It's like a few, those guys went back in time to 1908, and these books were written. It's like, wow. And so is if you go watch the movies of, Back to the Future, it's pretty much showing us what we're going through right now. Biff is Donnie, So I wish I could read your chats, but that's okay. I'll read them when I can find my other 4 pairs of glasses to put on. But anyway, so I went up there, and then I went up to where the camp was, but it was like this, and I didn't have any of my braces, or I wasn't really prepared to go climbing a mountain with my legs. So I got to, the edge, and people came down to visit me, and they said, who is, because I talked to a couple of folks going up, and they're like covering their, it's like, you guys, chill out, You're out in the middle of the most beautiful natural thing, but you're skizzed out because you're surrounded by all these, dinosaur earth-moving machines. Anyway, long story short, I just I did what I do for you guys, I did for them, but more focused on what they were going through. And about 30%, there's only 20 people up there, so 30% of 20 people, whatever that is, they were like, wow, we need this guy. This is it. He's, okay, yes. So there's that. Then another 22% was like, wow, this guy's interesting. I thought he was just a smurf for a moment, but no, this guy's, I like this guy. They haven't drank the Kool-Aid like these guys have. So that's about 52%, give or take. And then the other, that last bottom part of maybe somewhere between 11 and 6%. This guy sucks. He's a this, he's a that. He shouldn't be here. Yeah. And those are what are known as Stalinist obstructionists, right? And they need hugs and kisses and peppermint treats and things like that. And then they come around. They usually end up being MK Ultra plants for espionage and skullduggery. But if you give them with hugs and kisses, if you want to break any PTSD, psychotrauma, not only, but the best tool and medicine is love, and love in all its characteristics: art, generosity, humility, grace. So I went up this hill, and I was your Griot Sensei Al Bob, and so that was my first time there. But I saw they need other people, because what's happening, there's, like I said, about 20 people up there, and they've been up there like for a year or two. It's like they're on the, the space station. They haven't come down, and so they need, new folk. And they need to have fun. They're really upset. They don't want anybody to take their picture. Someone's going to capture, and then blah, blah, blah. No, come on. If you're up there doing anything, even working for the company, there's a satellite, 200 miles up taking everyone's picture, and it's, multi-dimensional. So, they don't even have to see your face, and they can render a picture of you. So it's, no. So, sorry about that. I mean, if those kids really, when I say kids, anybody younger than 50 to me is a kid, and I'm a kid too. I've been the kid most of my life. The groups that I hung out, one had kind of a, hey, there's Sticks, there's Longy, there's Shorty, there's I was always the kid. I saw myself at Sundance, but um, so anybody who's got a week or two, come to Blacksburg and head up um, that hill, or go online and just go look at Appalachian um, pipeline, or just pipeline in Northeast on Google would probably bring you up. Dominion is the company that owns the pipeline. So, Dominion Pipeline in Virginia, right? And if you want to really zoom in, Blacksburg. And I bet you they show you the maps and satellite pictures and all the rest, which would give you a good insight of what's going on here. But it's really a constitutional issue. If somebody wanted, if anyone's concerned about what's going on with this country, and it would behoove you to come here and get involved with this thing, especially if you have skills like lawyers or photographers or doctors or nutritionists or psychotherapists, all the things I am in one, but I need more than me. And people can play music. The problem with the pipeline is no one sees it. The public doesn't see it. It's like up through the mountain. So these guys are putting their bodies in front of the bulldozers, right, to slow them down. They almost don't have to do that. These guys are screwing up so bad, and the weather hasn't been in their favor. So it's like they're 2 years behind, if not more. I don't have references to just so what I can see what they're doing and what I know they were doing. It's like, okay, so the gang who wants to stop the pipeline, they still can, right? And what they have to do is realize, why is it being put there? 3 reasons. One, they're putting a pipeline right through one of the strongest planetary, not just landmass grids, but energetic grand grids of the things that there are about 8 of them crisscrossing Earth and holding it together on every level. The pipeline's destroying one of them. The whole grid will stay apart, but you take one of the 8 major supports of this grid, not good. Number one, so it's a shamanic attack, basically. Number 2, it goes right under all of these, the grid of the East Coast. So within 5 years, one of the control devices is that basically no one will own a vehicle, period. You will get wherever you're going by hitting an app on your phone, and an Uber will show up and you'll go someplace. But we will soon have what is known as we have right now as a credit score. Well, we will be like China and have a credit score and a social score. So if you are heard, just like they're going, if you don't love it, you can leave it. These 4 women of color, congresswomen, they're not American. 3 of them are born here. The other is nationalized. So no. The white males are just getting a little upset because these girls are way smarter than they are. Not younger. These white crackers are going to be dying anytime soon. They're in their 80s, unless they take the transhumanist pill and become a robot of the Matrix. You're going to take the red pill or the blue pill, or was it a green pill? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, that's what this pipeline is representing. Everything you ever thought was going on is going on there, right? And the third thing is there's plenty of what is known as capacity. There are pipelines all over the East Coast, right? This is the first place they put them. Where they find oil first was Pennsylvania, right? And they wanted to pump it down into the lower 40. And Mr. Rockefeller got so rich because he was in control, not of the oil per se. He was in control of the transportation. And he was the first guy to see the wisdom of pipelines. So this area is like riddled with them. A lot of capacity, but not the specific capacity to bring gas and oil to a specific place. And what they want is to have this pipeline to go right through these transmission lines, which will carry the current to all of the electric vehicles, the autonomous trucks and cars that will be the only thing on the road by I would say 2027, maybe even 2025 or even 2024. But that's why they're putting this gas line. And that's why this gas line was supposed to frickin' be in by now, but it's probably 2 or 3 years behind schedule. This gas line will allow them to truck a 5 megawatt gas turbine under the power line. And they're like the size of a tractor trailer. So you just drive it in there, hook it up to the gas line, and hook it up to the wires above, which you can already have the switch gear and the valves already set. And big out, turn that sucker on, and you put 10 of those things under, in each of these places, and you will have more electricity than 4 nuclear power plants. But you can start it up like that without any licensing, anything, because by putting this pipeline, you're opening, and they're making the right away like the size of a football field instead of usually about 20, 30, 40 feet. So that's the ulterior motive, right? To control you through your transportation and heat and light and all the rest, whether it freeze to death or, look what's happened in poor New York. And it was only so they could keep their profit margin. So anyway, that's kind of where we're going into. And this pipeline is the microcosm of it all. And so I went up and talked to them. There were about 20. So went up there. I couldn't go up to their camp because, like I said, my legs wouldn't do it. So I sat at the doorstep. And first, I walked up there with a couple of people, and there was one who was like, really, boy, you're an interesting guy. And the other was like, step. And so that was that. And the one who said, you're an interesting guy, stayed while the other one just went up there and announced that, a troll is down by the, and what they had the stream, and they put up these barriers, and they had this bridge. And so, the one said, there's a troll down there. Oh, about 20 minutes while I'm talking to this one person, oh, you're an interesting guy, comes and tries to turn the bridge into being able to raise the bridge, right? So I just kind of look at it, and he's got little teeny rope like this, and he's got a carabiner. And so he ties a big rope around, so the bridge is this way, and it's maybe 60 feet long. And it's got 2 big logs, and each log is maybe 200 feet, 200 pounds. And then the boards are the boards off of pallets. And so, there are about 20, 30 of them, each one maybe 5 pounds. So this thing probably weighs 600 pounds. So he's got this little teeny rope going up to a little teeny tree, and he's here pulling down on this. So the math that I like, geometry, says that no way are you going to lift this up, meaning what you're going to have is a pulley here that will lift the bridge up this way, defy the gravity. Then the little thing he's got, because it's past that X coordinate here, yes, the gravity is already wanting it to do this. So I don't say anything. I just watch him do it. And he's like getting more and more frustrated. And he's on this ladder that is kind of pretty rickety. I mean, he's up about 10 feet. Man, he falls off. He's going to end up in a muddy, rocky stream bed that's not much water. So he's going to, hit rocks. Not good. Head, arm, shoulder, hip. A fall like that could, stick him in the age of 60 at 23. So anyway, so I'm like going, no, this guy's going to be fine. He's going to get down. He's going to live. He's not going to hurt himself. But he's so frustrated. He hangs on that rope. It's just 2 little strings. He's no longer on the thing. And I'm going, no. He's not going to hurt himself. He's going to be fine. He's going to be good. And he finally comes down. And, he was, and I said, buddy, you were going against geometry. What do you mean geometry? I said, well, look, this is straight up. Didn't you ever do a proof? Here's this. It's a triangle, really. Look where you put the rope over here. And, there's a G, E, and F forces. And the weight is, 1,000 times any of those other forces. So you know way you're going to do this. You got to lift that up first and then do this. And he just was, troll. And I'm sure they sent him down there to raise, the bridge, right? And he couldn't. So a few more people came down who were more like open, thoughtful, this one girl went up there and said, "There's an interesting guy." Well, he's a terrible person. So they, 3 or 4 people came down, and we had a great, great conversation. Read their palms, showed them how to breathe, blah blah blah. Gave them my insights on what was going on, and they had been there for more than a year. All 3 of these women, and they had graduated from really good colleges, and they should be, putting in their time so they can make their $600K salary in about 5 years. So anyway, but no, they're doing this, right? And I'm thinking, as I'm reading them, doing a cold read on that, they didn't expect to be there for a year. And this one girl's been probably involved in it for more than a year and a half, really. And it hasn't caught fire. And why isn't it? Because no one can see it, right? Except the people who are living it up there. I said, "Are you keeping it?" And the 3 girls who were kind of awake were keeping journals. I said, "That's going to be very valuable one day." So anyway, I said, A, you need to have more fun. And B, don't worry about these guys, finding out who you are. They already know. There's no way they don't. So you've been here a year. They've been taking pictures, 5,000 pictures of you from space, So no. If you want to really deal with these guys, forget trying to wear the camo and blah, blah, blah. No. Go to the Dollar Tree and buy some clown outfits, which they do. They always have the Dollar Tree always has clown, rainbow afro wigs, red nose, and they have these great kind of smocky things that are puffy clown, just throw them over you, right? Big shoes that go over your shoes. And if everyone was dressed up like a clown, the power set should be would have a hard time identifying them. And what it would do, it would raise the, shamanic energy where the guys couldn't be doing that crazy shit they're doing just for the, $300 an hour. And they would start to laugh, and that laughter would break their suspension of disbelief. I'm getting $300 again, $300 again. 12. I don't know how many people they've lost. More than 12 machines, each costing $300,000. That takes a little chunk out of the profit margin there. And God knows what happened to the guys driving them, because they do zip, they're doing, you're supposed to build these platforms, these, where the vehicle gets itself safe and then does the excavation and then goes down and does another platform they're just like going at it. And they're in all these angles where they could tumble down, right? And what normally they have these little rods with reflectors, right? And they pound them in where the GPS says to. And on this piece of equipment, there's a zipping around laser, and it's looking for that reflector. And if it stays within a certain parameter of those reflectors, the machine can work. But if the machine is like this, unless you hit that override switch, the machine's going to say, "No, I'm not going to do that." And that's what they're doing, hitting the override switch and, taking everyone's life in hand. So this one guy drives up, and there's, the right-of-way that the pipeline's on. If the police come and you're on that, they arrest you. If they're not there, you can walk up and pass, right? So one of the 2 women who kind of escorted me up to that point, they said, "Well, the cops come, go past this green thing. Otherwise, if you're standing right here, they'll arrest you." And I'm looking up, and I'm seeing these machines go, so, man, I'm not ever going to, whoa. I'm going way up that way where there's tons of trees. So if those things tumble down, they won't, And then I look around, and there's this gigantic bowl of a tree and like holes in the ground, and like in the trajectory. And what happened was one of those machines tumbled down, hit a gigantic tree. It kind of got unearthed, and the thing was so steep that it swiveled around, hit a gigantic rock, and snapped the big tree. And the ball with the, about 20 feet of the big tree went down the hill, like punching holes in the earth as it went. And if you were standing in front of it, and there were a bunch of people who this thing happened like that they just kind of, oh my God, and, dove out of the way. It could have been. Anyway, that's what's going on up there. And it's really not really being portrayed in any manner. And the shamanic energetics, right? The earth is screaming, right? I got up there and they go, "You're here. Oh my God, I can't believe you. What took you so long?" Anyway, so that's why my friend, who is also somewhat sensitive, kind of dragged me up there. I mean, if she didn't drive me and didn't give me a really good cup of coffee, probably wouldn't have done it. But I did. And that's okay. I'm glad I did. Okay, now. So I'm speaking to you guys, the cadre. You want to do something to change your friggin' life? Come to Virginia. Go up there. Those people need some help. If you're theatrical, if you got play instruments, I mean, I can't believe they don't have a drum. Whenever you are, the drum is the sound of a heart, right? Every time I did ceremony within the construct of, social activism, I had a drummer who go boom, boom, boom. I learned that from Grandfather David, the Hopi elders. When we did ceremony, especially when they did stuff with me, like stuck me in a place where, if you don't do it, you're going to die. Which is a great motivator for shamanic teachings. And the thing that they kept me from not dying was they would have one of the elders sit, at the bottom of the valley with a heart drum and go boom, boom. So I would feel it in me. So it would give me that my North Star, keep me balanced. And so if you're in this kind of thing, and these guys are under stress because they're surrounded by these machines, and they have one guy over there with a big machine. There's a gigantic rock, and he's just hitting it with a claw, and then go like they're doing the largest form of running fingernails on a blackboard, and these kids are right in the the pathway of the sound waves, the strongest up in their little thing. And the other thing, so after the first crew left me because they wanted to do something, and then the kid who was trying to make the bridge ran away, there's nobody there. I would just sit there in the middle of the road, making sure that I was behind a big tree so I wouldn't die if one of those things fell. And I was meditating, and I felt so many conflicting everything, right? Basically, all the birds and animals have left. And Gaia is screaming because they're tearing up one of there are 8 major energetics of the grid, and these morons are pulling up one of them. So, if you guys really want to do something, no matter where you are, this would change your life, and they could really use your help. And I'm going to be there, when I can. I'm going to, be there if you, I'm going to probably go back to the deep green because I have other things bubbling there. And if I could get them to, bubble enough to where people want to do something, then I could bring them back here. That would be fun. And I kind of called up a whole bunch of buddies who are part of things like the Living Theater and the Bread and Puppet Theater, and there are a number of really the cats and kittens who were left over from the sloop, and a few other. So there's still a lot of elders. No one's really stepped up. I can take the blame of going. One of the things you are, you wait for the student. You will be the teacher of the student who approaches you, right? So until that happened, most of us were just laying low, and now we can't lay low, right? So this is a call to all my brethren, shaman, griot, sensei, al-babs, to get involved, get a crew together. Because we got this 17, not quite. We still got a few more days of the 18 months, but after the first, it's going to be 17 months. So we still got time, And the thing that happened, the Mueller, soap opera, everything's a metaphor. You have to be able to deconstruct everything. And so, if you go read the 400-page Mueller report, about 60 to 80 pages has the meat of the matter of, showing that, he broke every law in the book. But we didn't have to do this report because every place he broke the law, he did in front of a TV camera, And basically the Mueller report, why he didn't want to say squat, because he's saying, listen, you morons, you can't legislate yourself out of this one because we have the best legislators money can buy. They're bought. They're following the script. If you want your country, you better wake up soon. That's what Mueller was saying, right? And he just wants to go retire, sit under a tree and read a book. He's had it. He's done it, He's been at service, He may not do the right thing, but at least that guy was at service, and not for the hidden hand and a fortune, So not like Giuliani or Donnie or any of that ilk, any of his cabinet. Oh, and the best you can do for all of those guys is pray for them, really. It's really, and focus. So this guy drove up, right? And, I thought he was a cop at first. So the girl said, don't be in this little swatch of the road if a cop car comes up. So I got out of the way. I got my chair out of the way. I moved up now, kind of up the road and up behind the tree. So no matter what happened, I'm protected. And I'm like waving the guy on, like, hey, buddy, you better get out of there. And so, I said, screw it. He's if something happens, he's toast because he could not move out of the way fast enough. And it would be, he would be the first to probably, the guy in the big piece of machinery, he's got a metal box around him, like with big steel, everything, like it's designed to roll and he's not going to die. But, pickup truck is like a Coke can. Big one of those things fall on top of you. Not the prettiest sight. Anyway, he said, screw this. I'm going to go talk to the guy. I'll be nice. He won't arrest me, Anyway, I woke up and he was middle management kind of, looking at how they're doing, right? He had his like clipboard and his laptop and all the above. And yet he was Mr. Responsibility too, like everybody else who I energetically kind of felt who had a hard hat on, were like, everybody was like, oh, now this guy, on the other hand, he was a righteous guy. We started talking. We talked about everything. He was a literature guy. He was a spiritual guy. He meditated. I showed him my little tricks. We had a really solid connect, right? And I said, so, I can tell just by the shirt you're wearing, the cut of clothes, the automobile you got, and your haircut, you're more than just a worker drone. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm kind of like, he says, I'm not the overseer of this project. That's a whole nother company. That's a subcontractor. But I'm like keeping an eye on a bunch of stuff that are all interconnected. And so this is the guy. You want to know what they're really doing, this is the guy. So I was extra nice to him. And so he was like, it was very interesting because he was like Mueller in that he didn't give anything away. But the fact that I understood exactly who and what he was, and I had worked in a similar, I worked in the nuclear power thing. I know what FERC is. I know what all the licensing procedures are. I know the process. So we were talking about that. And he was like, wow, almost like, you want a job? And I would take that job, because the bottom line about this is that these morons have bought up more than they can chew. Why are they chewing up this grid foundation of the planet? Well, because they're putting something in that shouldn't go there. And they know if they don't break that energetic, then, nature will. So they think just because they know how to rip that thing out, that they can control that energetic. And no, it'll make it worse for them. And that's really the thing. The folks who are like out in the field there, in the trees and such, they don't realize that they're not really fighting a foe. That what they're doing is, this is a training day for them. They're starting, they're all very young in their early mid-20s. Most of them finished college. They're smart. They're not dummies, but they've been lied to their whole freaking life. So they're not quite, they have to get to a place where they can suspend their disbelief. And so out of the 6 people that came, 2 who were like, about, there's, a troll down below and we got to get rid of him, which was me. Well, the other 4, in their own special ways, were like open-minded, saw what I was. We had amazing conversations, and they all said, "Man, we need you. You need to, you can come here. We'll carry you up there." I said, "Well, I don't need to go up there. I can be down here. That's it's like 200 feet. It's just like that. It's hard for a guy with me who have ankles and knees that just don't exist to go up, climb, even though they got like, there's a path, yeah, but it's like that, But it's a fine place for me to have a nice little welcome home camp, which would be right where they cops or powers that shouldn't be would have to go right to them. Hey, let me read your bomb. Come over here. Hey, I got some good coffee for you. How about these cinnamon buns? I mean, if you want to deal with authority, that's how you deal with them, with hospitality. Disarms them. Then they relate to you not as the other, but as another person that, that guy's kind of cool. So I'm going to bring my little fairy dust their way and, hot cross buns. And I put out the call to a bunch of artist magicians to, so we'll see what happens. And this thing has, like I said, there's 17 months. So this thing has about the same amount of time. I mean, so these morons, the pipeline guys are supposed to be done by now. Man, I don't see them being done for 5 years, which will put a real crimper on the powers that shouldn't be's plan of taking everyone's transportation away from them. So, see, that's how things work. These morons think that they're powerful and they can do whatever they want. And then, the balance of love's co-creation always is, oh, aren't you cute? Isn't it nice? So, and that's why I'm pretty confident about a positive outcome. That's why I'm still in the game. I tried to a couple of times, swim in the total hedonist swimming pool of chocolate mousse. But no, it put me right back on the 45 of love, So let's see if I can read any of this. No, I can't. Well, I'm going to head back to the school this afternoon. What time is it now? No, it's 4:30. Time goes by when you're having fun. How long have we been talking? Oh, look at that. I love it when a synchronistic moment comes by. It's 1 hour, 11 minutes, and it was 11 seconds when I looked. It's clocking into the next. So anyway, that's a long story. So what I wanted to tell you guys is, you should go look at, Virginia, where the pipeline's going, see whatever you can Google or dig up about it to make you go, see how it is the microcosm of the, the unrun at the OK Corral of hydrocarbons versus alternative versus humanity dying asleep or waking up and ascending to their higher consciousness. I mean, that's what this little passion play is about. I mean, it is Shakespearean, and that's why I'm getting it done. There's a number of these people who are writers, and I said, this is Shakespearean. And this one girl said, I have to call them women because they are women, but like I said, anyone under 50 is a kid to me. But so there's one woman, and they're all really educated, everyone up on that hill. They're all college grads, and they're all, smarter. But the really smart ones don't think they're that smart. So out of the 6 people, I read 4 poems. 2 of the people who I read, I did a cold reading. I didn't look at their palm. They were like 50 feet away, and I still gave them a reading that freaked them out, and they physically ran away. And one of them, it was really cool. This one who was like, and the other lady was like, well, you're kind of interesting. And so it caused a friction between those 2, right? So I gave the one who thought I was kind of interesting, I said, hey, let me read your palm. I did. And she nearly fell over. She goes, that's amazing. She goes, read her. So that's when that person stuck their hand under their, I couldn't, like this, so I couldn't see. And I said, that's fine. I can read them without looking at your palms. And she was like, and then I gave a cold reading, and she got really upset. Like she was going to blame me, for being a misogynist hot dog. I got it. How dare I do that? And her friend said, she started to laugh, and she said, that's exactly you. He got you 100%. He didn't even read. And that's when that person kind of got kerfuffled and ran away. Right now, this whole show is like a advertisement for you to come up here and join. You really want to do something, especially if you're young and footloose and fancy free and like camping. You might like that, and if you are, a control freak / want to mix it up, you might like this. it would be really good for you because you'd have to really stay. Everyone who goes up there has to be in control. Everyone that goes up there has to respect everybody else's. And they have, there's 20 people, there's 20 different, this is the way we should do it. And that's kind of what's kind of going on. They quite haven't gotten the realization of they got to work as a team. Now they're teamettes. They're out of that 20 people, at some point of the time, 18 work as a team sometime. But anyway, but again, I keep saying this. I find more to be feeling positive about than negative. Right? So that's kind of where I'm at. Go on, near Blacksburg, Dominion Pipeline. Go to the Roanoke Times and look in their library. Pop in their pipeline stories, because they've been writing stories about this for at least 8 years, if not longer. So go look at that, and it might be something you gang you might know somebody else who's like wanting to do something like this. If these guys could get 20 or 30 folk to come and give them a hand, because most of them have been up there longer than they thought they were going to be up there. And no one's coming to help because it's out of sight, out of mind. No one's paying any attention to these guys, right? Now, I'm going to try and, bring the circus to town. Now, this would be a great place to bring the first, the trial run of the Humanities Artists Trust traveling video art circus, Freely Inquiring Society International. So we have to find a better name than that, but that's like the mission statement in a mouthful. And this would be a really good, thing to try out. So, me, I put it on the old channel and throw it out there and see what happens. And I know I'm just that little pebble in the pond, and it'll ripple out and do something. So, me being there today, if I don't even ever go back, it's like kind of put the pebble in. So, and I feel really good about it too, because when I drove out, and I tried to energetically make a blessing to every hard hat that I went by, that they would understand who and what they were. They would come awake and be responsible and realize that for their own human self, it's better to, they made enough money, And just like in Hawaii, on the Big Island, they've been trying to put an interstate across that thing. And, every time they bring a couple of bulldozers and start clearing things, the Pele comes in and swallows it. So it's an interesting time. It's an interesting example. If you want to know anything about shamanism or energetics or the confluence of the occult into the corporate, et al., et al., et al., what's really going on with et al., et al., et al., this is one of those synchronistic crossovers, especially since they're ripping up one of the meaning. If you want to ever realize what the energetic grid of the planet is, if you came here and saw what they would do, it would curl your toes. And everyone needs their toes curled every now and then, So it's now 1 hour and 18 minutes. How time flies when you're having fun. So I think I'm going to say goodbye at 1:20:20, right? Give us a few more minutes to say so long, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, right? Love you, love you, love you. I was singing a song the last show, and I said, that's so tricky. That should be my theme song. And of course, I forgot it. I'll have to go back and take a look. So, okay, gang, remember, get more people to thumb that up and let's get some more adepts joining. If you can't come here and join the circus, start the circus in your own little neighborhood, Have people over for coffee, have a book group, watch, have a, Sensei Al Bob video night where you take my show and put it up on the big screen and you all watch it together eating popcorn. Pick out, there are over 600 shows to choose from. And I've looked at a lot of them. They're kind of fun. They're kind of good. They got that zip. It's like Memorex or real. So, and I urge you all to have, a space in your hard drive, a couple of thumb drives, a CD-ROM, and lay down, as you're watching the past shows, whichever one really strikes you like, wow, document it. Put it on a thumb drive. Keep it for yourself. The more people that have me spread all over the place, the better, So, because I've seen a number of interesting YouTube sites just disappear. That Eleanor, what's her name? The illegitimate daughter of the King of England. Yeah, she was like a kind of kooky old lady, just like I'm like a kooky old guy. And but her information was pretty righteous. I mean, if you knew what she was talking about, you'd go, wow, I'm interested now. And she's, so she has a little notch in my, playlist. But when they took her channel down, it took out all of those, like unplugged it from my playlist, except for about 5 or 6 videos that were made on somebody else's channel of an interview of her. I have about 5 of those, and those 5 are enough to show you the depth of her information, especially on the occult and esoteric of the ancient times. She really got that down. I mean, ancient times, from about 6,000 years to 1,000,000 years back. She's got that down. So that's kind of interesting. Most people don't talk about that stuff, unless you're a scholar and, stumble across it and then find a teacher who will tell you about it. And because they think you're somewhat worth their time. So anyway, so that's the storyline. Again, it's now 4:15. I'm going to head back to the hacienda. And though I enjoyed my stay for my friend's hospitality, I missed my shower. I missed my bed. I actually miss John. John is my bud. I really, really, we need to see, all of you guys, send more prayers to John. Because I know that that he's a righteous guy. He's a nice guy. He's a smart guy. If he could only get from underneath his own, he gets his own way, which is kind of the human complaint. That's why he's the canary, right? So I'm heading back that way. And I got about 2 or 3 weeks left here for a bunch of little projects. And we'll see if any of them come to fruition. I might stay here a little bit more. Otherwise, I have other things bubbling back at the other end, and I can always, I just love being in the deep green. It's just quiet, it's nice, it's relaxed. Every day feels like a week. I was there for 4 weeks last time, and now tomorrow I will be here 2 weeks. So I was there a week, a month and a week, like 5 weeks. It felt like a whole year. So when I got there, it was still cold Aprilness kind of, and stayed cold until it got hot, and so it almost felt like I was, late fall, early spring, nuclear summer. It's like so. Anyway, so I got one more medical thing, but I've seen 90% of all my medical things. And I'm in pretty good shape. Everyone's, amazed that I'm still alive. And they're like rooting for me. They used to bet against me, but now people are taking a long shot on me. So anyway, that's how it is going. We're at, a few more seconds and we'll hit the time to say goodbye. So that was fun. Maybe I'll do one tonight. We had, I think about at the height 8 people, but I can't even see the numbers. So I love all of you. I just have to feel your energy, and I love you all. And so I'll catch you guys later. Okay, gonna jump off here now because I got a little packing to do. Okay, we got a little cleanup to do. Ba, 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 ba.